Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Ask the Wizard, streaming live almost daily. Finding your own path. This is one of the early maps that I drew in geometrics, and it was such a valuable piece of wisdom I received way back
at the beginning.
And I'd like to share that with you today. Rusty's here, as we can see, starting the 5-minute timer now. Okay, see you in 5. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Ask the Wizard, streaming live. Hey, Jesse, how you doing, man? Long time no see. As usual, today we have Rusty. How are things going, my
friend? They're going really well. In today's show, we're going to talk about, well, geography, apparently, and maps, and directions, and finding your own path. Now, you can guess by looking at me, I know nature and I know how to create my own path out in the woods and things like that. I'm really curious to see how Russ is going to take that skill and apply it to, as he often says, living spiritually in a practical world. So without further ado, let's just head on to the teaching topic. I believe Mr. Flipchart's coming in too.
Yep, he is. I got Mr. Flipchart right here. We're going to bring him on right away. This, I guess it wasn't one of the first maps I received, but it's one I used a lot in classes to help us understand exactly what I'm talking about, which is finding your path. And this is one of the areas that I find that, us as travelers in however you define what your spiritual journey looks like, your personal development, pick your labels again. It's I'll call it a trap that we fall into, and I find often teachers do with the best of intentions. And that's slipping into this universal one right way to get from where you are to where you want to be. All right, so with further ado, let's bring in Mr. Flipchart. Okay, I got to draw something here. So I realize I should have drawn come on, wake up. Drawn this ahead of time, but that's okay. All right, so this is that's a body of water. I'm going to do this quick, but that's all right. And these are streets. Isn't that cool? Here, and this one goes here, and this one goes here, and here, and here, and here's something like this. Okay, now, the example I used was, this is you. I am your soul, your spirit, your higher self. And we'll do this one here. And this is where you want to go. So this is your desire. This is the destination, the direction you want to head in. Now, here's what happens. As you can tell on our map, where's this one? There are many ways that you can get, right, from where you're at to where you want to be, right? Now, some take, this is showing there, some takes longer than others, but it still gets you from here to here. So there are many ways to get there. Here's what happens so often, and it's often, I think it's taught this way just universally. I can't remember whether I did a show on this or a picture or a post or something, but I talked about how as a society, sure, I'm going to use that word, we've kind of fallen into this trap where there's like one right answer. So math, 2 + 2 = 4, right? That's the only answer. 2 + 2 is always going to equal 4. There's always one answer, and there's only one answer for 2 + 2. And I guess, and even with math, if you look at it from different perspectives, you can tear that assumption apart as well, but topic for another discussion. And we've done that. We've taken that and we've applied it to everything, right? Like there's got to be one thing, one right answer, one right solution, one right way, one right universal truth, one only. It's just so amusing at how limiting that is. I've got a phone in front of me right here. My phone's right in front of me. I use it as a monitor and see if it's checking in and different things like that. Another thing I often talk about is how truth is never constant. It's always evolving and growing. So you look at this phone. Now, I've been around for a while. Some of you watching have been around for a while. Do you remember the brick phones? They were like a brick. They weighed about that much. And the buttons, you had to kind of really press on them. And of course, the sound was terrible, and very few people had them because they cost an absolute fortune, right? But if you wanted to talk to somebody else that wasn't in your presence and you didn't have a landline, that was the one only right way you could do it. You couldn't do it any other way. And at that time, that was true. Now, flash forward, that was a while ago. 2007, the first iPhone come out. I remember I was in the Bauer Mall, for you guys that are familiar with Red Deer, and I saw this lineup at the phone store, and I discovered it was people lining up for the first iPhone. But you see, all of a sudden now these phones come out, and now that truth isn't valid anymore, is it? There are now many ways. Right? You could call them, you could text them, you could FaceTime them, you could, on and on and on, right? You could Zoom them. There are many ways to achieve that same thing. And we're perfectly fine with that. Yet we take other aspects of our life experience, I find especially ones that tend to lean towards us, you, being powerful. I tell you, I'm just kind of freestyling here for a bit. The more I study, the more my conclusion is, we've often heard we are afraid of our own power. I think that's true, but I think a greater truth is society, the systems, the establishments, all those things out there, they're afraid of your own power. And we have no problem with accepting we are limited, we are broken, we are faulty, we are, fill in whatever lovely sounding word you want to. And we have no problem with that. Matter of fact, we have no problem giving our power away to someone, something else to decide what we can and can't do, who we are, on and on and on. But I tell you, as soon as the conversation starts to kind of float back to how that we, you, me, have actual power intrinsic within us, that's when people freak out. And I tell you, that's when the conversation starts to get into this one right way, and probably more accurately is, I have the right way, which therefore means that you must not. Because we have decided, this proverbial we have decided that there's only one right way. So back to where am I at? Mr. Flip Chart. So on this map, as I said, there are many ways to get to the same thing. But I find what we've done is, first of all, we're searching for the right way. And especially I found when I first started my spiritual journey was I would read something, I would watch something, I would whatever, and a philosophy, a technique type thing. And I would go, oh man, yeah, that's it. That's it. That's the one. Yep, you bet. That's the one. You bet. So then I would read something else or watch a video or whatever, teaching series. And it would tell me almost something very different. And I would go, oh, but that's really good too. But that's not exactly the same as this one. Sometimes they would have very differing opinions and viewpoints and perspectives, but they both looked really, really good. And that's when I think I first discovered and heard was because they asked the question, which is the right way? And the answer I got back was they both are. See, so there's not one right way to get from where you are to where you want to be. There are many ways. But so often, because we're looking for the one right way. Need coffee. Hold on. Yeah, let's try that again. Because we're so focused on what is the right way that we often limit ourselves. And you see, here's the thing. What we end up finding out is you go to somebody and they say, oh, this is the right way. Now, why do they say that's the right way? Because it might be for them. But just because it's the right way for them doesn't mean it's the right way for you. And so then what happens is they say, okay, this is the way you get to here. So you go, oh, okay, that must be the way I get to there. But you see, your way might be like this. So then what happens is you spend so much energy trying to force yourself into this particular path when it's not your path. Is it the wrong path? No. It's just not your path. And that's the rub. Just because it works for somebody else in a particular technique, a particular path doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Does it mean it's wrong? No. Does it mean it's right? No. It's just their path. And again, so often we do two things. We either try and force ourselves into a path that's not ours and will never work for us because it's just not our path. Ours is a different one. Or, and this often happens when we've discovered a path, right, that gets us from here to here. And then we decide that's the only way you can get from here to here. And then what happens is we share, we teach, we whatever. In this case here, we teach that the only way to get from here to here is on this path. So then what happens is the students go, okay, the only way to get from here to here is to take this path. So now they're trying to fit themselves into it, and then on and on and on the thing goes. You see, that's why, at least from my perspective, arguing about whose path is the right path, say that fast 3 times, is just about useless. Because to me, the bigger question isn't whose path is right. The bigger question is, are you getting here? Right? I tell you, we focus so much on is this the one, is this the one, is this the one, that we forget why the hell we're on the journey anyway. And we're on the journey to get to here. But we so often forget that. I mean, does it really matter which path you take as long as you get to where you want to be? But I find that gets lost in the discussion because we're so busy, enlightening others in the right path to take that we forget why the hell anybody's on this journey anyway. You're on the journey to get from here to there, and then from here to there, and then from here to there, in the way and or ways that work for you. You see, that's why, sure, we can learn how this person does it, and this person does it, and this person does it, but understand that, well, you'll often share some commonalities. Your path will be unique to you. Don't let anybody else tell you whether you're doing it right, whether you're doing it wrong. Don't let yourself condemn you for doing it right, for doing it wrong. Just remember why you started in the first place. Where do you want to go? And then it's your job to take all the information, all the opinions, all the different ways, and you figure out the way or ways that work for you. So important to remember that. Anything else, Russ?
No, I think that's it. That's very well explained. So how do people know? You talked about, Gary, getting to where you want to be, but how do you know if you're on the right path before you get to where you want to be?
Oh, that's good. Oh, goodness. I want to say you'll know, and that's such a terrible answer. Okay. First of all, start. Just start. If you're beginning, or if you're going to a next, in the next segment, next phase or something like that, just start. It's like tasting food. Try this way, try this way, try this way, try this way, blend these two together. And knowing that, out of all the ones you try, there's going to be some that don't work for you, and there's going to be some that do. There may be a combination that works for you. How do you know? You'll just start to feel better, right? You'll start to feel good. There'll be, okay, oh, there we are. All right. How do you know you're on the right path? The predominant feeling, I'll just use that word for now, is one of peacefulness. Now, does that mean, and when I say that, I'm not saying happy, I'm not saying sad, I'm not saying any of them other words, because those are emotional experiences that we all feel It's where are we feeling them from? Again, topic for another discussion. But right now, you will feel a predominant inner sense of peacefulness. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy. That doesn't mean you won't have emotional roller coasters. That doesn't mean you won't have, times you use my map, hit the tree, hit the water, hit another car or something like that. But that underlying foundation that will continue to build and build and build is one of peacefulness. That's not dependent on what's going on out there.
Oh, that's good. I like that. I think that's a perfect conclusion to today's show.
Yeah, I think so too. That was really, really good. Thanks for bringing that up. Good question. Good question. How do we know if we're on the right path, right? How can we measure it, especially if we're forging our own? All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Share. We're all in this together, and we'll see you on the web.